What's up, guys? Happy Thursday. Chuck Silver and Nick Marro here to bring you a short, sweet little three-gamer. I think it's a pretty good one. As you can see, we got Jalen Johnson at the top of the model over Donovan Mitchell, Devin Booker. So we'll take a look at that. Nick, how are we doing? It's our first stream together of the season.
Yeah, man, excited to be on here with you. I've been doing a lot of shows, but first one with you, it's always a pleasure. We did a ton together last year, but yeah, some good screenshots in the Discord. I think everyone's been doing well. Just excited to continue. It's been a fun one so far.
Yeah, I want to win a big contest. I keep taking down like the smallest GPPs that I enter every day, which
Mhm.
maybe says something about playing more small field. But anything
Yeah,
you want to mention about the slate overall today? I mean, short, sweet, three games. I think the Atlanta Utah game's pretty good. The other two games are pretty good too, but that one just stands out a little more to me.
yeah. Atlanta Utah stands out. I honestly think Pacers Suns super comparable. It is tricky with there being a 2 hour gap between the early and the late, but it's not like we're waiting on much news. But yeah, ownership's going to be very important today. Obviously, you don't want your entire lineup to be chalk. I think there's enough pivots at every position and every price range for a three game slate to get different pretty easily. But yeah, should be a fun one. I mean, all high totals, 233 or higher in all three games.
Yeah, the we haven't gotten much news, but we do know Colin Murray Boyles is going to be out for the Raptors, and then Sandro Mamukilashvili is available. So we'll see if we get to Sandro at all.
Mhm.
Was there anything else that we were waiting on? Because the Cleveland guys are all good to go, right?
Yeah, I don't think there's even like a Q tag on anyone in any of these other games. So yeah, it's just Toronto, and we already have that news.
All right, let's start with these Cavs because were you kind of expecting someone else to rest today since they sat half their roster yesterday?
I mean, they are sitting Ball, who played yesterday, right? I think that's the only change. Garland's obviously out; he's the only guy who's actually hurt here. But yeah, they rested for this game, so they should be good to go. I
Okay.
think some people are going to want to play guys like Craig Porter, but we got to keep in mind off of that 50-point performance. There were a lot of guys out, which allowed him to get there. I know Ball's out tonight, but that's definitely a talking point. He's popular on DK, not so much on FanDuel. But yeah, I don't think we're going to see anyone else sitting. Um, Again, the guys who rested are good to go today, other than Ball and Garland.
Were you doesn't sound like you're into Craig Porter too much. Does it differ for you between the sites?
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it. It's just like, do we really need to go that cheap? Like, we're talking about Johnson is the best OF index play on the slate. Booker, I think, is the most expensive play, right around the same range as Mitchell. Like, we don't have the Jokic's, the Lukas, the Giannis, Wemby's to pay up for. So, do I really need to jam a 3K guard at chalk into my lineups? I'm more so on DK tonight, full transparency. I just think he's a bit overowned there. You would think there'd be increased opportunity here, obviously, with Garland and Ball out, but at the same time, I mean, they're getting Mitchell and Mobley back. It's going to eat into his usage when he is on the floor. So I don't mind him as a value play. I just don't know that you even need to go that cheap necessarily.
Okay. Yeah, over on FanDuel, I didn't get there as much. He's 4,200 over there. Pretty solid value score. I mean, on the slate overall, he's still the
Mm.
second overall value after Nikhil Alexander Walker, and we'll talk about him when we get to Atlanta. On DK overall, he's the top value play on the model by quite a bit. So I am getting there a lot over on DraftKings, but I was a little surprised I wasn't getting there as much on FanDuel. I get it though, because like you said, there's not as many guys to pay up for. But on DraftKings, there's still enough guys that we can just jam in another stud, I guess. But I think he looks kind of good.
Mhm.
We haven't projected for 22 minutes. There's no other point guards. And so if he's playing well, he has a potential to exceed this 22. But if he is playing poorly, they can just run Donovan or Sam Merrill.
Yeah, I mean, Merrill's not going to run much point, but with Donovan in there, definitely makes a difference. Hunter only played
Yeah.
28 minutes yesterday because part of that was because Porter was going off. So yeah, I just think it's tricky. I think he's so cheap. Like, I can't sit here and say he's a bad play. I just think there are ways that could go wrong, and like you need to get almost everything right on a three gamer.
So yesterday, Craig Porter came in super low owned, and Lonzo actually came in kind of low owned too. The model was super low on him. It's just that the stats in that situation were really poor for Lonzo yesterday. He hit a few threes, got a lot of assists, but Craig Porter wasn't really considered as a pivot. I just want to throw out Tyrese Proctor as the pivot off the chalky Craig Porter today. What do you think about that?
I don't mind it. Again, like I don't really even want to go that cheap, so I'm not looking for a direct pivot as much. I'm just looking to go a bit more balanced as my way of getting away from it. But yeah, it makes sense logically. I mean, he played 22 minutes. I think we have both of these guys around there again. What I will say, you mentioned Merrill earlier. Him and Hunter both played limited minutes. They are the two guys that are available on both sides of this back to back as far as the guards are concerned. Allen only played 27, so yeah, he got a lot of extra run yesterday. Craig Porter did. I don't know that he's going to see that here if this game stays competitive. But in that same breath, like in a blowout, he could play the entire fourth quarter. So he could be something you need. I'm just playing a handful of single entry tonight. I'm pretty comfortable getting away from it. But yeah, there are ways that we are over projecting his minutes if some of these other guys get their normal run.
Nice. And then as for Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley, how interested are we in paying up for these guys?
I mean, I like him. Again, it's really a question of ownership compared to the other top pay ups. I do really like Jalen Johnson. I'm fine getting to Booker, but if we're looking at Mitchell on DK, where he's only 18% compared to someone like Booker, who's double that, I think he's a really sharp tournament pivot. I definitely want to get some exposure to him over there. On FanDuel, similar situation, 26% owned, but half is owned as Booker. Again, I like Booker, but I don't think he should be double owned what we're seeing on Mitchell here with Garland out. Mitchell's been really solid since he came back from those few games he sat out due to injury. Really think he's just underrepresented in terms of ownership on a 3 game slate. Mobley's good, but he's popular. Yeah, I mean, I'm fine getting to Mobley. I do prefer him over someone like Siakam, but that's reflected in the ownership as well. So again, I'm pretty neutral on Mobley with where we're projecting him in terms of ownership, but I do think Donovan's underrepresented.
Nice. Yeah, it was something last year where the model was pretty good at telling us who to play if we're playing one of Evan Mobley or Donovan Mitchell, and the model's slightly
Mm.
ahead on Mobley today in all of the categories, OF and value. And so it's funny because I'm actually getting a ton of Mobley on DK at this 8,600 price, and I'm usually not super into playing a ton of Evan Mobley, but on today's slate, I
Mm.
think it just makes a lot of sense. And then I like that pivot from Devin Booker you called out with Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, again, a 3 game slate ownership's even more concentrated, which makes it easier to get different. Like you could still play good plays at lower ownership. It's all relative. Like if this was a 12 game slate and Mitchell was 18% owned, that's chalk. Like we wouldn't be wanting to get to him. But when we're
Yeah.
comparing him to the
Yep.
other players in that range, he makes a good pivot.
And then what's your interest in Jared Allen and DeAndre Hunter?
Pretty neutral. Again, I think they could play more minutes than what they did yesterday. I know it's a back to back, but they were kind of capped. I'm fine getting to either of them. Looking at ownership right now, I think Allen's good. I know there's a lot of centers on the slate we're going to be talking about that we like. I do trust him more than Hunter, but Hunter definitely fills a position of need where center's a little bit deeper. So I think you can make a case for both. Hunter, though, sub 15% on both sites, a little bit surprising. I wouldn't mind getting to a bit more of that than the field is currently. But again, I will say, like, I do prefer the 2 later games more than this first game, especially with Cleveland getting a bunch of bodies back.
Nice. Let's go ahead and talk about the Toronto side of this thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, what was standing out to you here?
They're tricky, man. This is just a team that's been consistently tough to get a read on night to night. Like it almost feels like the Celtics. I keep comparing them. Like obviously a very different roster makeup, but you have 3 to 4 guys on the floor every night who are contributing, who have ceilings, who are priced where they should be. Like Barnes is, and again, this is only for DFS, but like Barnes is very much the Jalen Brown of this team. He's the most talented player. He fills the whole box score. He does it all. Usually plays the most minutes. You have Barrett, who's a bit more scoring dependent, a la like a Derek White, and then I don't know Ingram and quickly, a little bit cheaper, bit less consistent. You compare him to like a Pritchard. It's just night to night. You don't know which one of these guys are going to be the one you want to own. So it's tough to take a huge stand on any one over the other. I think Barnes is the most consistent, which is why I'm getting to him more often than the others. But he's the most expensive too. So quickly's really kind of turned a corner. I think he's my favorite of this bunch of the night. But as I'm saying this, I'm looking at the model. He's ranked fourth out of those 4. But again, just under owned on DK, in my opinion, just 15% over there. But you can make a case for all 4 of them. And those are really the only 4 I have much interest in for Toronto.
Yeah, I'm not really thinking too much about these other guys outside of these main 4. If I get a couple shares of like Pirtle, maybe Sandra, I guess I'm okay with it. But Once again, RJ Barrett is the main guy that I'm getting to here. I'm getting a percentage of all of these top four guys, but RJ Barrett 7,100 and then 6,900 over on FanDuel. I think these ownerships are pretty good, and his value is the highest on the team except for Pirtle. So RJ Barrett is once again my favorite pick here.
I like it. Yeah. Yeah. Pirtle, I mean, if you look at the game logs, he's been awesome. But you got to kind of consider the matchups too. Atlanta and Brooklyn, not nearly the defensive front courts that he's going to be seeing tonight against Cleveland. And he did struggle against Milwaukee and the Spurs. So Pirtle's about as matchup dependent as a big is in the league right now. We'll see if that continues tonight. But I just don't love the spot for him. But it looks like the field's not getting there. So you could mix him in, but it would take me a few lineups to want to do that.
Yeah, at this price, I think it's more than reasonable to get to him as a GPP play. It's just 30 minutes that he got up to. If he can get up to 30 minutes today, we have him projected for 26.6. Like that extra 3 minutes kind of matters a lot. And the model already likes him. So at single digit ownership, this is a spot you can use to get different in your lineup if you're playing a bunch of chalk. Let's see. Let's dive into the Pacers and Suns. You mentioned you were pretty interested in this game. Tell me about Indiana.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with Nemhard. I mean, he's just a different player with Halliburton off the floor. Like, and not only Halliburton, also Benedict Mathurin. He really becomes a shooter, and he's been scoring. I mean, this guy's hit 2+3s in 3 straight games. Way more aggressive on offense than we're used to seeing, averaging around a 30% usage with those guys off the floor, and a great matchup here too against the Phoenix Suns. So Nemhard, to me, even as chalk, one of my favorite plays on the slate. I think he's the easiest guy of this group to trust as well. Carlisle has been crazy with the rotations early in the season. Like we've seen Siakam's minutes even cut at times for no good reason. As this front court gets healthier, like Jackson, Walker, Bradley, they've been mixing and matching. McConnell's back now. The one kind of steady player here, and even more so than Siakam, in my opinion, point per dollar is Nemhard. He'll be in most of my stuff here.
Yep, I completely agree. Nemhard is, to me, the clear top play from this team. Not really getting much ownership to anyone else. I advocated for fading Pascal on when he was chalk on, what was that, a 5 or 6 game slate the other day, and now no one wants to play him on a 3 game slate against Phoenix. Like, Phoenix is kind of a little bit better than advertised, but I think this is a fine spot to target Siakam as a contrarian pay up today. And Nemhard is going to be in, yeah, like you, he's going to be in pretty much everything I'm doing today.
Yeah, again, it comes down to ownership. I mean, Siakam is underowned, period. I mean, he's expensive. You're comparing him to the other high price plays on this slate, but it's 7% on a 3 gamer, 14 on FanDuel, where you could play him at power forward or center for a little bit cheaper. That's just wrong, in my opinion. So if you are someone playing 150, it's very easy to double or even triple the field, and you're still not going to be overexposed to him if he doesn't have a ceiling game. So I like Siakam a lot in high risk contests for sure.
And I'll mention that I'm kind of on the field side. Like I don't like Siakam that much
Mhm.
as a play in a vacuum today, but just since no one else wants to take that risk, I
Yeah.
think it's pretty good, especially given how concentrated the ownership is at the top. At the top on some of the other guys. I mean, Pascal, he's fourth in the model. That's not bad. There's just 3 guys that are cheaper than him, but he's also a fraction of their ownership. So I kind of like that.
Again, yeah, I'm right there with you, man. Like I'm single entry, like my main lineup won't have him. Like I'm not ranking him as highly as the other payups, but we have to take ownership into account here, especially in high risk contests. And he's simply way, way under owned.
Um, any blowout risk with the Pacers. So we have a 5 point spread, even the 8 point spread over in Cleveland, Toronto. I'm not really considering any kind of blowout today. I just, if you think it's going to blow out, it's probably better to just take an alternate spread bet rather than do anything in your DFS stuff, right?
Yeah, and this is a back to back for the Suns. They had to travel from Dallas. Like this should be a competitive game.
Did you mention Aaron Naismith coming in at 17 and 20% ownership?
I didn't. I don't hate it though. I mean, he took 9 threes last game, which is kind of crazy. That definitely feels like a bit of an outlier, but he kind of fits that mold of like the Dylan Brookses of the world. Like not this year, but Harrison Barnes in years past is someone I could compare him to. Like if he's your last piece in, he has enough upside to justify the price. It's just there are going to be nights where he's doing nothing, even with a lot of minutes. I'm fine getting to some Naismith here. Can't say I'm confident in him, but he does feel a little bit under owned comparatively speaking to the rest of this team.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I got there more on FanDuel than I did on DraftKings. Don't know what that says, but
Yeah,
I
he
don't know.
has
He's
small and
okay.
power forward on FanDuel, so it's a little easier.
Okay, that's kind of helpful. And then were there any of these other guys you were looking at? TJ McConnell, 47, 4,600 at 3%.
I don't think it's crazy. Again, the issue always with McConnell is the minutes. Like, even when he's 100% healthy, we don't get him playing 20. I mean, he played 11 against Utah in that first game back. I don't really trust him to get the run here that we're going to need him to hit value. The front court situation's tricky. Like, we got Bradley, we got Robinson Earl. I mean, we have Jackson coming off the bench. I think one of these guys probably gets there. Can I sit here with any sort of confidence and say I like one over the other? No. I will say on DK, Robinson Earl has power forward eligibility. He's probably going to get the start. I don't mind mixing him in. But yeah, it's like, again, it's just one of these situations where, yeah, one of these guys does well, but you not only need them to do well, but you need to kind of pick them over their teammates in the same position. It just makes it tricky.
Anything else on Indiana?
No, I'm off Walker now, coming off the bench. He just really hasn't been hitting value. Again, I like Nemhard a lot. He's going to be in most of my builds. Siakam's underowned. Naismith's fine to mix in. Little Robinson Earl. That's it for me from Indiana.
Yeah, you are expecting that same weird starting lineup that we saw last time.
I think so. I guess they could slide Shepard back in. Jackson could start over Bradley, but I think either way, Robinson Earl starts at the 4. They're putting Siakam at the 3. It's positionless basketball in 2025. Not that that really
Yeah,
matters, but I do think we probably see a bigger lineup here. If anything, I think they'd pull Bradley for Jackson. I think Robinson Earl's probably in at the 4 either way.
he's only 5 and one
It's
percent
Carlisle.
owned. It's
What's
Carlisle.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Robinson Earl's only 5 and 1% owned. I just optimizers are not projecting him. Like sites aren't projecting him well, so optimizers aren't putting him in lineups that much
Yeah.
today. And I just, there's a wide range of outcomes here. This 22 minutes could be more, could be less too, but
Yeah.
I don't mind getting over on Robinson Earl. He's pretty low owned. The center only on FanDuel is tough, but on DraftKings, he has power forward eligibility, which helps.
Right. And obviously trying to read Rick Carlisle's mind is like a fool's errand, but every
Yeah.
other game he's been playing 23 plus minutes, and every other game he's gone up. So Brooklyn, 30 fantasy points, sucked against Denver. Golden State, 29 fantasy points, sucked against Utah. If we're going to follow this pattern, and this is pretty stupid now that I'm saying it out loud, maybe tonight's another big game. So at low ownership on a small slate, I don't mind taking a few shots.
I mean, he's what, the sixth value play over on DraftKings, over on FanDuel.
It's
He's
not
fourth.
bad.
So at these ownerships, this isn't someone to have your whole night depend on. Don't play him in 60% of your lineups or anything. But if you get to, 10, 15, like 20% would be kind of extreme, but it might not be bad.
No.
I just noticed that my favorite guy, Dylan Brooks, one of the top FanDuel value plays today at 5,300. There's still no Jalen Green. This is essentially the same situation he was in before he got hurt. He's still pulling, projected for 29% ownership. Why is Dylan Brooks the best play on the Suns?
He's a good play. Is he the best play on the Suns? I mean, on FanDuel, probably. Yeah, 5,300 for him is just wrong. He's too cheap. He's going to play as many minutes as anyone. He's on the floor. He's taking threes. And it's a great matchup, too, against this Pacers team. It's essentially half a G League team. So, yeah, love him on FanDuel. I think he's even under owned at 29% if that's where he sticks. On DK, where he's a bit more expensive, like I'm still fine getting to him. It's just the price on FanDuel's honestly egregious. Like I would have him in almost everything there. Probably double the field if you're playing 150, maybe like 50, 60% Dylan Brooks. It sounds a little bit crazy, but it's just a mispricing, really.
Yeah, it's looking like I'll have 50 or 60% of Dylan Brooks over on FanDuel.
Mhm.
We've talked about Devin Booker a little bit, but his OF index is really high. He's this, what, second? Yeah, second overall play on the model after Jalen Johnson. I mean, projected for 35 and 46% ownership. You kind of alluded to we could consider getting to Donovan Mitchell instead, but I think that you can play them together, and Devin Booker is still a great play tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the usage has been there. He's back over 30%, which we obviously love to see. And yeah, the minutes are there. He's taking the shots. If this game's competitive, and like I said, I think it will be, he could easily be the top raw point scorer on the slate. I will say on a bigger slate, like it's tougher for me to want to pay this price for him. But usually we have guys like Maxi, SGA, like all these other great guards. Tonight we don't have that. We're kind of slim pickings on the high end, which is interesting. So I like him here again as a raw point play. I don't think you need to go 2 stars and Scrubsy to fit him in either with someone like Johnson, who we'll talk about in a bit. But yeah, is he overowned compared to some of the other payups? Probably. It's just he's going to take a ton of shots. We know he has the ceiling, and he's pretty easy to fit tonight given some of the value we have available.
Yeah, it looks like other than Jalen Johnson, he's my highest owned stud tonight. I have a ton of Devin Booker. I just, if he's not scoring, he's getting assists. I feel like his floor feels pretty good. And on a 3-game slate, that matters a little bit more than usual.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Uh, we had great in the chat. Nick, do you have any Royce O'Neal love?
He's fine. I mean, who did we talk about? Naismith a minute ago. I mean, it's essentially the same play in my opinion. Like this is a guy who got hot. He's a little bit cheaper than Naismith. He has upside, but don't be surprised if he's just kind of out there playing defense, hanging out on the wing, not doing a ton. So high ceiling, low floor, but we are always looking for ceiling in tournaments. Don't mind him at all here. Again, he's just inconsistent. Obviously, not the highest usage player.
Yeah. Yep. I saw a question earlier. Who's starting at center for Phoenix? I think it's probably Oso, just because that's what they've done before. But Nick Richards could still see more minutes. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Oso, but Richards probably. I don't know. I think they're both going to play similar minutes, but yeah, I don't really want to play either of them if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I want to defer to the model here. So Oso Ighodaro actually looks kind of good on DK value. So does Nick Richards. We have Oso for 20 minutes, Nick Richards for 19 minutes. Nick Richards is getting more ownership. He's a better fantasy producer. That's probably correct. But I don't know. Like Nick was kind of talking about with Craig Porter, do we really need this salary, especially if you're playing Craig Porter in a lineup, going down to this min price guy in another position in your lineup? Maybe if you're just jamming in the studs, you're going to be kind of duped.
Yep, exactly. And honestly, if there is a min price guy or close to it for the Suns, I like Jordan Goodwin. I know it's a back to back, but he's been
Yep.
over 20 minutes. He's running the point with the second unit. Any minute Booker's off the floor, I think Goodwin's going to be on. It sucks because it's cutting into Colin Gillespie, who I like as a player, but they have Goodwin ahead of him on the depth chart. He is the first guy off the bench in most cases. So I like Goodwin here as a kind of lower value play. I'd rather play him than a more popular Richards or Iguodaro when neither can really be relied on for the minutes. I think there's a world where Iguodaro gets more. I think there's a world where we see more out of Richards. But again, I just don't know that I could say either or with any confidence. I can say I think Goodwin at least gets his 20 minutes, and he's been hitting value in those 20 minutes pretty consistently.
So we're looking at 16% ownership on DraftKings for Goodwin, 4% over on FanDuel. The price is still basically the minimum. This is a possible pivot to Craig Porter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Similar play too. Like, um, yeah, I like Goodwin. I'm fine getting to him. It's just he is capped around 20 minutes. That is the fear, but I feel like every day this week, like Suggs earlier in the week was supposed to have his minute cap. He got lifted. I think Ball played more minutes than he was supposed to yesterday. You never know when maybe one of these guys go. But again, on such a limited slate where I don't like much of the cheap value, at least we know Goodwin's going to be on the floor with high usage for 20 minutes here.
And then last guy I want to talk about here, Grayson Allen. So just looking at the points per dollar, the model doesn't love him today over on DraftKings. He's okay over on FanDuel. The price is more reasonable, but this DraftKings ownership at 6,800 to me feels incorrect. Even the 36% on FanDuel, like it's a little high, but I understand that one a little bit more. What do you want to do with are you getting to Grayson? I'm just getting to everyone else here, basically.
Yeah, I'd rather play Brooks for sure on DK, same prices or a little bit cheaper. Yeah, I just think people are looking at the game logs and kind of chasing right now. I mean, he's gone 14 for 24 from three his last 2 games. I don't think that that's really sustainable for him. I'm fine getting away from it. He's a fine play where his price is just not something I think is sustainable. Like he's not going to continue to score 40 fantasy points a night.
Right. So I'm getting a decent amount over on FanDuel, not too much on DraftKings though. And our favorite game of the night, the main event, Atlanta versus Utah. Let's talk about the Atlanta side. Jalen Johnson, top of the model today and by OF Index. Price is 8,300 and 8,500 projected for massive, massive ownership. What are we doing with Jalen Johnson?
Let's play all the Jalen Johnson. I have trouble getting away from him. I think even if he doesn't smash here, he's probably going to hit value. He's going to be in almost everything I do here. Just such a good matchup too against Utah and their front court with no Kessler. He could probably do whatever he wants. Love him. And when you see that value score on DK 15.1 for a guy that's kind of expensive, like that's always telling.
Mhm.
So I really, really like Jalen Johnson here a lot. He's going to be in almost everything I do.
Yeah, and that high value score on the priced up guys kind of applies to Dyson Daniels too. He's not like super priced up, but his value scores still look really good, double digit OF index. He's also projected for massive ownership, but I don't think it's incorrect. I am prioritizing Jalen Johnson, but I'm still getting a ton of Dyson Daniels here.
Yeah, I like Daniels. I mean, on FanDuel, where you get the extra points for steals and blocks and all that good stuff, I'm a little bit more comfortable with it. I mean, he is a guy who kind of relies on stocks to hit value consistently. Not usually a guy who even sees 20% usage in games. So I'm fine with him. I just think he's a better play on FanDuel given the scoring between the two sites. On DK, if he's 30% owned, I'm pretty comfortable going to more Alexander Walker at lower ownership.
And real quick, Rocket Sauce was asking, Jalen Johnson hasn't played in a back to back. Is there any concern there? I'm not worried about it. They would have said earlier if he was going to be out for rest.
Yeah, no concern. I didn't even notice that. Yeah, I'd be playing him. If he gets ruled out late, that'd be crazy. But you could probably just pivot to like marketing or whatever. I would just load up on him. I'd be shocked if he sat.
Okay. And then Onyeka Okongwu, I'm not sure what to do with this guy because if I just run my stuff normally, I get like 100%. He's priced at 62 and 6,400. We haven't projected for 32 minutes, which it's just how do you not play all of the Onyeka Okongwu versus this Utah front court?
Yeah, I mean, given the price, I like him. Given the opportunity, I like him. I don't think he's worthy of 60% ownership, but it's just like how many pivots are there really in that range that you're comfortable getting to? Like, I like him, but we haven't seen crazy, crazy ceilings out of him in a while. I mean, I don't know. It is such a good matchup. It's good chalk. If you're playing low risk, anything small field, don't get cute. Just play him. But if you are playing high risk, like I'm pretty comfortable coming in under that number on both sides. I do think 60% for him is a little bit insane. Again, just not a guy who is always involved, even with Porzingis off the floor. So I like him. I think he's a good play. I don't want to talk anyone out of him, but if you're playing 150 tonight, you could probably come in around 30 or so percent and feel fine. I don't think it's the type of guy that's like super chalky I want to get over on.
He's my highest exposed player on both sites.
It makes sense. Like, but I mean, look at the model. Like, if we're sorting by value, right? Let's see here. He's kind of way down the page. I mean, he's still a good play, but I don't know.
I will
I
point
just
out, like Jared Allen's a pretty decent pivot at half the ownership, less than half the ownership, showing up with the higher value score, similar price and position.
Yeah, and it is a good pivot, but I think I finally landed on the point I'm trying to make. So even when Porzingis is in, Okongwu is playing a lot of minutes. He's part of the rotation. He's playing 26 a night. He's on the floor. So when Porzingis comes off, obviously we see a little bit of boost in rebounding. Maybe he'll play 3, 4, 5 more minutes, but it's not like this huge, huge jump like we see if like Vooch is out and we get Jalen Smith or something like that. It's not like he's a true backup five all the time. Like he is in the rotation playing a ton of minutes already. So it's just the gap between what we're going to get out of him tonight and what we normally get isn't as big as maybe I think the field is projecting it to be. At the same time, he's a great play and a great matchup. It's just I don't know that it's as dramatic of a smash spot as maybe it's being kind of considered across the industry. If that makes
Well,
sense.
Well, a lot of the reason for this high ownership too is that he's projected above 30 on every site in the industry, and optimizers are just gonna put him in because of that.
Yeah.
I haven't projected
Yeah.
a lot higher than 30 tonight, but
I can see it. And yeah, I mean, he's had a few big games. He could probably get you to 40, which at his price is obviously awesome. Um, but I mean, anything less than that, like there's other paths to the optimal, I think. So he's a great play. Again, I'm sitting here like the only thing I disagree with is getting 60 plus percent. I just think there are other ways that you can maybe get there. But yeah, he's a good play. Again, I'm a little bit confused why people are so urgent to get to him with Porzingis out when he's already playing those minutes almost every night.
Well, it's just because optimizers want him to. He's projected a few more ahead of Jared
yeah,
Allen, and so he just, he fits
yeah,
with
it's
Craig
true.
Porter and whatever other value to fit in the. I don't even know who the chalk. I guess the chalk one would be Devin Booker.
Booker
But
and yeah, Johnson.
so you're not as interested in Okongwu. Doug in the chat a few minutes ago gave us Collier and Gaye are winning the slate on FanDuel. So what do you think about Gaye as playing Gaye instead of Okongwu even at this 4,100, 4,300 price? He's projected for some pretty beefy ownership too.
It would take foul trouble for Johnson or a Kongo for me to want to get the guy. There's a world where that happens. I just don't think it's a world I'm projecting or expecting to live within. I mean, 3 game slate, man. If you get a gut feeling about a player that nobody's touching, go for it. I just don't think we could project him for a bunch of minutes unless one of these guys were to get in foul trouble. We have him for 21, which honestly feels a little bit high. But yeah, I mean, I just don't think the ceiling's there necessarily.
Yeah, I agree on the 21 sounds a little bit high of a projection. And even at that high minutes projection, his value still isn't showing up as great. And so this is a spot on the Hawks that I'm okay kind of getting away from a little bit. But if you want to take that spot too, like he's a 4,300 power forward, it's fine.
Hmm.
Anything else here? Vit Krejci, Luke Kennard, Keaton Wallace, Ricochet?
I like Ricochet. I think he has some upside in a matchup like this where it's just going to be a track meet. Like he does a lot of scoring when he's on the floor. Um, but it's a tournament play. Like I compare him to guys like Royce O'Neal and who else? Naismith. Like kind of a similar play, but the minutes may not be as secure. But I do think he could spike a ceiling. We've seen a few games this year where he's come out hot, takes a ton of shots, and continues to carry that usage through 4 quarters. It's just not something we see every day. So I do like Ricochet out of that group you mentioned.
Nice, nice. And then before we move on to Utah, I want to go back to this comment from Power. He said they mixed in Watch last time, so that's just a little bit more reason to be a little, nervous to play Nick Richards and Oso because Watch looks pretty good. He was their first round pick this year, I think, for the Suns. And they're
Yep.
going to run a 3 center rotation. It's just so hard to nail down who's going to get the minutes on any given night. And so, like, kind of what Nick was saying earlier too, like this might not be super necessary.
Yeah, again, I mean, I think they want to see what they have with the kid. I don't know if they're in a rush to do it. I'm still developing. Out of Duke, there was a clip today of like dapping up Flag. It was pretty funny, but yeah, player to keep an eye on. But 4 minutes power isn't enough for me to really put him on my radar, which is what he played last game.
Great likes Mobley over Johnson. It's fine. They both look awesome in the model. I mean, what was Mobley? Mobley's number 3. This isn't that large of a difference between them. And Mobley's
Yeah,
coming in for slightly less ownership.
it's a comparable play. Yeah, I think that is a logical pivot. I don't mind it.
And Jake would rather play Nemhard over both Allen and Brooks. I agree with Nemhard over
Agreed.
Allen. And then on DraftKings, I agree, but on FanDuel, I kind of want to play both Nemhard and Brooks, but Nemhard would probably get the priority. I don't know. I got to play with my lineups a little more.
I agree, but I also agree with you on FanDuel. They'd both be in most of my lineups.
Nice. Trey, Siakam or Booker and Pirtle or Onyeka? Siakam or Booker and Pirtle or Onyeka?
I lean Booker unless you're completely chalky because that's a pretty good pivot. But if you're just playing one lineup, I go with Booker, and then I think you got to go Onyeka over Podol. Like I said, Podol's had some big games, but against bad front court defenses, tonight he's facing one of the best in the league, probably the second best after OKC here in Cleveland.
Yeah, we mentioned Pirtle's like a probably a pretty good low-owned pivot, but Onyeka still has a higher value rating. Maybe on FanDuel, you could
Mhm.
consider Pirtle as a pivot. I mean, you could still play a Kongwu at power forward in that case. And then the model has Book over Siakam, but they're very close. So it's not like just play Booker over Siakam. Mobley hurts Allen's ceiling. That's why everyone's playing a Kongwu. Yeah, Kongwu is a better play overall than Jared Allen today. But I mean, if you, this season in particular, anything can happen on any given night. We've seen the craziest stuff. Like who was the Paul Reed dropped 60 yesterday? It's a little
Yep,
different
yep. He dropped
situation, but
60. And again, while I'm thinking of it, these 3 game slates, if one game blows out and you're heavily exposed to that game, it could end your night. Like, you never know if it's, I don't know, one of these games that projects to be close, like Atlanta and Utah. So if you are different by just avoiding one game or really keying in on one game, that strategy is way more, I don't know, formidable on a 3 game slate than it is on these bigger slates. So you never know. One of these games could get out of hand. Something stupid could happen. 3 gamer, the impact is way bigger than it is on like a 10 or 12 gamer.
and this is like an interesting comment just before we get to Utah. Mobley hurts Allen's ceiling. I think that's why everyone's playing a Kongwu. I kind of just like, I'm not saying that Jared Allen doesn't have more usage when Mobley's off the court, but the model knows Mobley's playing today, and Jared Allen is still projected higher in every category than a Kongwu, even at less minutes. So they're playing a Kongwu because a Kongwu's projected more on optimizers. That's really it.
Yeah, and Okongwu, like, he's not usually a super high usage guy, regardless. Not that Allen is, but yeah, I mean, they're both fine plays. It's just when you're playing chalk in most of your lineup, you got to find a pivot or two you like. If you're playing a ton of Okongwu, good, but if you have a lineup where everything else is chalky, that's a logical pivot to make. Just go to the lower owned guy that projects similarly.
Yeah, and I mean, just going by the model's telling you just play Jared Allen, but you can still play both. And then
Yep.
let's get to Utah. Laurie Markkinen, double-digit OF index. Keontae, I'm a little bit weary on him with Collier, like emerging as a bigger part of the rotation now. Ace Bailey's been starting, but this is a team I'm getting some pretty decent exposure to. What about you?
Yeah, I think you have to. Obviously, a pretty good matchup for them. High total at home. The guard situation is a little bit dicey, but we saw it a lot of the time last year too. I mean, the difference now is we have Bailey, but they had Sexton kind of cutting into some of these guys. They had Clarkson when he was still relevant. It's always a little bit tricky to kind of nail down which guards we like best. Keontae, though, I do think he's overpriced right now. Not only do we have Collier back, but we have Ace Bailey starting, and Ace Bailey, if he's going to be what he's projected to be, is going to be a very high usage player when he's on the floor. So with the change in the starting lineup and the return of Isaiah Collier, I do think he's overpriced, but he's still got upside. I wouldn't talk anyone out of playing him. It's just I wouldn't want maybe more than one of these 3 guards in a lineup, and that's kind of how we used to handle the Utah situation. Different faces, but kind of the same feel, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, the guards. I was actually surprised I wasn't getting as much. I'm getting a decent chunk of Ace Bailey over on DraftKings, but Laurie Markkinen and Nurkic are actually the two spots that I'm kind of leaning into the most here.
Yeah, I mean, Laurie's been great. I think he's going to see high usage. Always. He had a great game against Indiana. Prior to that, having to play Minnesota twice, Detroit, Boston, like those are tough matchups defensively. So if people are kind of overweighing what he's done in the game logs, and I think they are to an extent, like matchups matter team versus team. Like I'm not considered about individually, but when you get a soft defense after facing a bunch of good ones, that's when I want to play something like Laurie. Again, high usage player. We could trust him to be on the floor more than we can the guards. Like if Bailey or Collier get hot, it could cut into George or vice versa. There's not really someone that's going to get hot and cut into Laurie Markkinen's upside. So I like Laurie a lot here. I think he's under-owned on both sites. Probably my favorite Jazz player. And then just to kind of wrap this, you mentioned Nurk. I think he's a good play here. Again, no Kessler for the season, obviously unfortunate. He's coming off 2 pretty decent games at home here. They're working him into the offense. He's getting more comfortable. I like him. I think he's a good play. And on DK, he's under on FanDuel. He's super, super chalky, but 5,600 is just wrong, in my opinion, for this matchup. So with you. Love Laurie, love Nurk. Those are my favorites, but mixing in the guards here as well.
Yeah, Nurk is super interesting over on FanDuel. He's like my second highest exposed player over there. But just looking at which players only have center eligibility that we're even interested in playing, it's really just Nurkic, Pirtle, Robinson, Earl. I mean, Nick Richards, I guess, Isaiah Jackson. We're not as interested in these guys, and so you're either playing Allen, Okongwu, Siakam, Mobley at center, or you're like me, just getting the Nurkic and playing these other guys at power forward and mixing them up.
Yeah, and I like what you're doing. I think that's the way to go.
Anything else on Utah?
I do want to talk about Ace Bailey a little bit. I'm surprised he's not a little bit more popular. Obviously, there's some concern with the minutes given the kind of crowded backcourt here. Svee's another guy who's seeing a ton of floor time, who I don't love. But Ace Bailey, I mean, he was drafted early. They reached on him a little bit because they want him to take a ton of shots. They want him to kind of take over offensively. He took 8 threes last game against Indiana, made half of them. If he's going to stay aggressive on offense, which I think he will, and stay in the starting lineup, him being sub 20% owned is very useful to me. Again, I'm not playing many of these 3K guys tonight. I like living in the mid range. Bailey, to me, is someone who's under owned, and I would rather get to him than some of the chalkier guys that are a little bit cheaper. So, yeah, Ace Bailey, love the matchup for him. Definitely someone I like here. He will probably be capped around 28 minutes. Just keep that in mind. But regardless, I just love when a guy is going to be super aggressive. I like the matchup as well. So, Bailey, to me, good tournament play.
And then Great is asking, do we like his matchup against Johnson? I'm assuming that's Lauri Markkanen versus Johnson. And what I'll say is I don't really care about one-on-one matchups. Maybe for centers, I'll consider it a little bit more. And there's a few players in the NBA like Lou Dort, Drew Holiday in past years, that I would consider adjusting something. But for this, Nick mentioned it earlier. The NBA is so positionless now. It's not going to be Jalen Johnson guarding Lauri one-on-one on every single possession. So whatever defense is there, it's already factored into the model and his projections today. So I'm not making any adjustments. And just like on the surface, to answer your question, I don't mind the matchup against Jalen Johnson. It seems fine.
Agreed.
Let's build a quick dummy and get out of here. So who's your first couple players in your dummy today?
On DK, let's go with Jalen Johnson first.
Yep. Put him in power forward. It's only power forward.
Yeah, I guess we go with Okongwu. It's kind of tough to get away from.
Yeah, we'll plug in Okongwu at a center. And then, do we want to slide Craig Porter in here?
No. I'd rather get Alexander Walker. Let's go Alexander Walker.
Let's do Alexander Walker. What about Jordan Goodwin?
I mean, the thing is, I think Porter's the better play. Okay. But I would like to see what we could do without going below 4K first. If we have to go below 4K, then we could pick one or the other. But again, I think we could build without going that cheap.
Nembhard?
Nembhard love. Throw Ace Bailey in there too.
Let's say Ace Bailey at 4,800. We have 6K left per player, so we can definitely do it. For the other guard spot, I mean, Keontae, Dyson, Devin. Do we want to see? Let's see. Devin Booker still leaves us 4,400.
Yeah, go Booker, and then we need maybe one cheap guy.
Robinson Earl, Filipowski.
If Robinson Earl starts, I'm fine with Robinson Earl. I think has a higher floor than the guard value. I will say, Porter's going to go off now because I just feel it. Spent the whole stream man, I don't like him. I think he's overowned. All these guys are coming back, yada, yada, yada. But yeah, let's go Robinson Earl and see what we're left with.
4,500, Svi, Murray Boyles was ruled out. None of these guys were terribly interested down here. So, yeah, I mean, Svi fits. Svi's fine, 4,500. He's been starting, playing good minutes.
Yeah, I hate playing Svi because he needs his shot to fall, but it's been falling, and it's a good matchup, so I don't think it's crazy. And, Svi could easily outscore Porter, and that's kind of what we're doing with this build, so I'm fine with it.
If we go Porter in the utility and take out Robinson Earl, we can make it Royce O'Neal, which is that's consideration. You can maybe we'll take out Nickeil. Were you super high on Nickeil Alexander-Walker today? I wasn't looking at him as that big of a player.
Not super high. I just think he's a little bit under-owned as a guard. I like the matchup. We don't have to keep him in though. No.
Maybe let's see Donovan Mitchell. I don't know. You guys can play with it, but I guess the main guys were interested on DraftKings anyway. Nembhard, Jalen Johnson. Ace Bailey's fine under 5K, and then I like Okongwu, but could go either way. There's some options.
I and I don't want to sit here and say I don't like Okongwu. I just think more often than not, he's getting you 32 fantasy points tonight. Period. And is that optimal at 60%? more than 60% of the time. Probably not, but he's a good play. If you're playing one lineup, don't get cute. Just play him.
Well, I've said something like this before. If you told me this player was going to do this tonight, I'd play 100%. If you told me with 100% certainty that Okongwu was scoring 32, I'd probably X him out of my player pool, to be honest.
That's what I'm saying. I think
So
he
that, yeah,
finishes 30 to 40 ish. Like,
yeah,
I think
like,
he's overowned just for that, but he is safe. Like,
yeah.
if the other plays you have go off, like he'll still probably end up optimal. But again, 3 game slate, we got to get a little weird. We got to kind of think outside the box. Like I think that's the type of player I'm willing to kind of do something like that with, especially if you like Gouye. Like everyone's bringing him up. He's 3% owned now. Like if he's going to do what people want, I think Okongwu has a worse game than people want as well. Like how many lineups are going to have both of them? Like that seems like a
Probably a lot.
mistake to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that I want to set a rule to exclude them because it seems too limiting, but I don't want to scroll through and see that happening like frequently. If it happens a couple times in my 20 max, then that's fine.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
any final words before we get out of here, Nick?
One last word, Filipowski, another pivot off of Gouye. Now that Gouye's chalk, you could consider him. Not super interested, but he's underowned comparatively. But yeah, guys, 3 game slate. You got to get a little weird. Obviously, you could just play all the chalk and min cash and move on to tomorrow, where you have a much bigger slate. But if you're trying to get the top of tournaments on these smaller slates, you just have to take some stands. We're going to be wrong sometimes. We're going to be right sometimes, but we got a big sample size of these, so it's good to zig when the field is zagging, and do that a little bit here if you're playing high risk.
Yeah, just play the chalk that goes off and play the pivot that wins you a tournament. I'll be in the Discord
Bingo.
in like 5 minutes. Instructions to join that are in the description below. Pretty much going to talk about the same stuff we talked about here, but a little bit. I don't know if you want to ask another question or something, but we appreciate you guys tuning in. Good luck. We'll see you tomorrow.
Take care, everyone.